welcome to the Weed Out, where we talk about the nonsense and weed out the bullshit happening in our backyards. I'm Spencer Fox Peterson with my co-host as always.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanna May Booty.
This week
How?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Uh, hey, Joanna and I have been rusty. We have been off.
I'm good.
You're good. This week we have writer Bill Shaner from Worcester and his platform Worcester Sucks and I Love It to talk about local journalism, local politics in Worcester, and some issues that plague both of our communities out here in Central and Western Mass. Before we go along, I just want to remind everybody you can go to our website, www.theweedout.com, get all the relevant information that we talk about in this episode and every episode under our show notes. So any links relevant to articles or anything that's brought up, we try to provide that so you can research it and fact check it and maybe look at the source material yourself. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to us at theweedout@gmail.com. If you have any tips and or you want to get the word out about something, you can always contact us, and social media DMs wide open. We'll try to get to them as needed, or as we can rather. Reminder, Joanna and I are workers. We work full-time jobs, but we try to be good about that. Right, Joanna?
You are very good about it. I am medium good, but yes, we try, and we are full-time workers for sure. 1,000% on that one.
So without further ado, I'm very happy to have a very talented local journalist, Bill Shaner. I love his Twitter feed. And I'm subscribed to Worcester Sucks and I love it, and I really appreciate it. It's a great title too, by the way. So welcome, Bill. Welcome to the Weed Out.
Great, yeah. So thank you. I'm really happy to come on and talk about some Worcester bullshit with you guys.
Excellent. So yeah, tell us about Worcester Sucks and I love. How did that come about? What is it?
Sure.
About?
Yeah, Worcester Sucks and I Love It. It's a newsletter that's unfortunately on Substack, but where else are you supposed to go these days? I've been doing it since June of 2020, not 2022, 2020. Coming up on the 4-year anniversary, which is wild. Before I started the newsletter, I was a political columnist and reporter at Worcester Magazine, which was an all weekly at one time before it got purchased by a hedge fund and gutted. So once it got purchased and gutted, I decided to take a shot and go out on my own, and it's been working out pretty well so far.
Well, congratulations. Happy anniversary, 4-year anniversary.
Yeah.
It's not easy building something from the ground up, presuming with no budget, like most of us, or very little budget.
No.
I love the name. I really love the name too. I'm from Pittsfield, and it reminds me of
a
name. So we used to run, my friends and I had this like mutual aid artist group of people where there's not much going on in Pittsfield. This is now like 15 years ago, and everyone would always say like shitty pity, there's like Pittsfield sucks.
Yeah.
And we tried we tried playing off of that and creating like positive things, positive like art events, and positive like not journalist based at all, more community based, but it just reminds me of the tone of your title, and I really like that a lot. Like taking what people usually say bad and like taking a positive spin on it is pretty nice.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that. And that it's when I say I love it, I really do. And I think that like for people who live in places like Worcester and like Pittsfield, and there's like an endearing enthusiasm in how crappy it is,
Totally.
I don't know how better to describe it, but it's like a camaraderie of like living in a place that's like objectively pretty lousy.
It's a very working class New England thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Very specific to up here. I'm sure it exists elsewhere in some capacity, but I grew up in Quincy, Mass. And I live in Holyoke, Mass. And the funny thing is, people like Quincy's a lot different than it was. It was a work.
Oh yeah.
Now it's like bougie as fuck. It's basically like mini Cambridge, but that's fine. back when I was growing up, it would be like,
different than Worcester and Pittsfield.
this place is a shithole. Everybody's a fucking asshole. But like somebody from Milton, an objectively nicer town,
Yeah.
would be like, oh, Quincy, it actually smells like marshland over. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And I definitely
don't talk shit about my town.
It's like growing up with a narcissistic mother and father, or mother or father. Only I can talk shit about that person.
Right.
So
yeah, it's like, what, you think you're better than me?
Exactly.
It's a very Bill Burr like delivery sums that up. I bet he has a whole bit on that. Only I can talk shit about it. Fuck you.
Yeah, and I really tell people to say hi to their mother for me. So that always makes me laugh too. So I'm always like, actually say hi to your mom. Like, really though?
Yeah, right.
So nice to me.
Yeah. How's your mother? Yeah.
She always sold the best brownies at the bake sale. Anyways, so what kind of stuff do you guys cover, and what's I guess what overall do you focus on, and what's a good example of what's popping right now, like in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, sure. So I would say the three big themes that have emerged, and they're all interrelated since I've been writing this thing, is that Worcester City Council is not a democratic institution. The Worcester Police Department controls the city.
It's a gang.
And has horrible problems. Yeah. And, somebody who might be enterprising to figure out if there's some criminal activity going on might do well to look at the Worcester Police Department's gang unit. I think that there's enough sort of evidence suggesting something, that might be going on there. And then sort of the unmitigated housing crisis and homelessness issue in the city, which has been exacerbated since the pandemic. But even before the pandemic, the sort of groundwork was laid by this period of time that everyone in Worcester likes to call the Worcester Renaissance, where Boston-based or New York-based or hedge fund-backed developers finally started looking at Worcester and saying, "Ooh, we can start to build some luxury apartments here. We're gonna get a bunch of tax breaks from City Hall." And a lot of high-end development went up at once and juiced the rental market in Worcester in an out-of-control way. And there's not a lot of affordable housing in the city.
Yeah.
And what stock exists is deteriorating, and there's not a lot of it being built. So Worcester has the highest, or the lowest rather, rental vacancy rate in the entire country at 0.5. And when you're in a situation like that, it's just not a good it's not a good scene for regular working people. Almost everyone I know that lives in the city is facing rent increases on a regular basis, and it's becoming more and more untenable to live here. So surprise, surprise, the number of unsheltered, chronically homeless people has increased dramatically. And we just treat that problem like busy work for the cops, basically. They get to play a game of whack-a-mole where they push them around the city via a policy of routine sweeps of outdoor encampments. So Worcester City Hall being feckless, Worcester Police Department being too bloated and shitty, and then the housing crisis, making it really hard for regular working people to maintain a good quality of life in the city. Those are sort of the three pillars of the Worcester Sucks agenda. And there's a lot to dig into in all three of those, and in the way that they interplay.
And it was very astute of you to notice that, your project, to notice that connection. I'll be honest, I had always been told things like this were connected, and it wasn't until I started really digging into abolition theory and logic that I was like,
right,
shit, it's like, and there's no master puppet pulling all the strings. It's just the way the system is set up this way to create, when you have people over profits over people, property being more important than anything. So of course, cops whose main job is to protect property do what they do, and they don't
Right.
humans less than a piece of land or a piece of property, i.e. the swamp.
Yeah. To look at it from that sort of abolitionist perspective is very clarifying. You know, if you don't see it that way, you might see that the homelessness response team of the city being also the garbage police. You'd be like, oh, that's just a weird bureaucratic quirk that the people who deal with, illegally dumped trash are the same people that deal with people that don't have apartments. But when you start to see it from a certain perspective, you start to realize that, oh, that those are functionally the same thing to the people in power, you know. And yeah, big theme of my work has been how, as it manifests in the policies and practices of local government, unhoused people are considered blight before they're considered human beings. And I think it's pretty obvious that that's the case, and it sort of informs and undergirds a lot of the things that the city does.
Since you bring up the recent, not recent, I'm bringing up the recent. I would say it's not even that recent, but I know it must not have helped Worcester, so I'm wondering how it's impacted overall, and if you even know. But for a long time, until Governor Healy recently put a cap on the shelter access for people, there was always access to like shelter, especially for women, children, and babies. Like emergency shelter. I even worked in one as a young person. Not even that young. So like, I do wonder, once that no cap went into effect, and now, once the shelter is full, they're not going to maybe get that stipend that they would get in the past to maybe put someone up in a hotel, et cetera, just so the audience knows how that works.
Right.
I bet, I'm just assuming based on what I'm hearing, that really had an impact on how many people are not housed in Worcester too in the last year, because that was something recent within the last 6 months to a year.
Right. The are you referring to like the what is it,
Emergency
like
housing.
the emergency housing is like a 45-day, like you have to get out of there sort of policy?
Yeah, and like in the past, like if you were unhoused, you could seek shelter, or like, especially like they're like and they never would have denied a women or children shelter, especially babies. But at this point, there's
Yeah,
a
right.
there's a cap on like any emergency housing in the state, which under a Democratic controlled government, I think is interesting. But I'm thinking, I know in Pittsfield and here it's impacting families a lot, so I wonder if it's impacting
Right.
Worcester. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. So Massachusetts is like technically a right to shelter state. Like
Yes, but they did
you are
they've put a cap on it now.
right,
Yeah.
right. So what happens in the way that manifests in Worcester that I've seen, and it's very complicated once you start looking into the nuts and bolts of how the shelter system works, the emergency shelter system, housing vouchers, permanent supportive housing, rapid
Totally.
rehousing. There's a lot of wonky details to get into, but what ends up happening, especially lately, with like sort of the confluence of the influx of migrants and the fact that we haven't built a lot of new shelter units, whether they're permanent supportive or temporary, like triage emergency shelter, is that there's just a, a deficit that makes it harder for everyone, no matter what their circumstances are, to find a place. And rather than ameliorating the deficit with like an immediate investment of public money into creating more spaces, the the onus has been sort of put back on the vulnerable people themselves, where if they're caught living outside
Well,
in a
right.
tent, they are air quotes offered services which are not good services and may not exist. And if they don't avail themselves of those services, then they're just made to move in
Right.
a certain amount of time. And that has the effect of setting people at square zero back to an even worse square zero,
Right.
and getting further disconnected from any sort of medical or social services that they may have been connected to, less trustful of authorities, and into living situations that are further and further away from a support network. So that happens more and first to single adults, because the state is like a lot better than other states at making sure that families have a place to stay. But recently, like that what was a given is no longer a
Yeah.
given.
Yeah.
And that's reflective of the entire thing sort of being overburdened and collapsing, because it's still in the logic of like state government policies. It's like, okay, a woman with a child gets into the shelter first. But now we're seeing like that we can't even fulfill that like very basic moral promise to people in our society.
Mhm.
And it's crazy that there's not like an immediate influx of just cash to just open more places up. Like there's all these sort of means testing things that are being thrown through the state legislature, and then on the local level, just people throwing up their hands and being like, this is a complex issue, right? As if that
Yes.
like as if that absolves them of the necessity of fixing it. They're like,
Right.
oh, it's complicated. And everyone's like, yeah, you're right, it is complicated. Thank you so much in this 250 bed shelter deficit for opening up a 60 bed emergency um, shelter at the old RMV site. Like you're doing so much by getting at 1/4 of this shelter bed deficit. Um, so yeah, it's it just doesn't, at the end of the day, doesn't seem like an issue that state and local leaders are very serious about solving.
And there's this
Yeah,
circling the drain type thing where, because okay, so these people are becoming distrustful of authority, all the things you mentioned, then the police throw their hands up and say, we can't do anything about this, give us more money. So then there's even less money going to the thing, and then and then there's more justification to put more boots on the ground and handle it more violently. And then it just circles the drain, and we're doing more when it would have just been cheaper to house people. And
yeah, I mean,
poorly correct too, obviously.
Right. But like, honestly, if you were a completely amoral or even evil person in charge of public money, it's like, just if you just pull up the spreadsheet and look at how much a housing unit costs versus how much you're spending on policing people that don't have a housing unit, it's crazy. I mean, I just read this book, it's really good, called Homelessness is a Housing Problem. I would really recommend it. And one of the data points in there was like, they broke it down, and it costs like $100,000 a year to per unsheltered chronically homeless person in a city. Like $100,000 a year. You could live you could be king in the castle with $100,000 a year, right? Like that gets you a really nice apartment.
That's better than what I live on.
That's a really nice apartment.
Like my
my
family's income, the two of us being income earners, if you break that in half and give us each half, that I take home way less than that.
Right.
To run my life. My life is.
But even to buy housing, like even if it's not their income and it's just to purchase a housing, that's more than most people's rent for the year, even like way more.
Right. And like when you look at it that way, and it seems so obvious and simple, then you start have to asking some tough questions. It's like, okay, well, where is that $100,000 going? And it's going to police, fire, and EMS that have a fiduciary responsibility to justify their existence. So it's actually better under the logic of state and local government that we spend so much money policing the unhoused than redirecting that money towards housing, which would be so much easier, simple, and more effective. Because if you accept the premise that sort of, the police department kind of is more powerful than City Hall, like, then you see that there's no reason why they would forfeit that sort of money for to
We'll
make
lose 10
life better for
officers.
people.
We'll lose
Yeah.
10
What's that?
officers. That's 10 officers' salaries. We're going to lose 10 officers if you house
Right.
1,000 people. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. It's more important to have the 10 officers. Yeah.
it's a gang.
Well,
It's a gang, everybody.
well, I
Yeah, of
think,
course. Yeah.
and I think Bill, you pointed it out at the beginning, like sadly, if you don't share a perspective, not even of abolitionists, I did not spend my entire life with that as something I would say I believed or had as a perspective. But if you're someone who is like evil, basically, is how I would look at it. If you think other people aren't human and don't deserve to live, at least in like a nice, clean, like home and have some respect and dignity, because we all could end up there someday, that I really do think I don't know how to reach to those people, because I would hope, like Bill pointed out, like you would think you'd look at the bottom line numbers. Maybe you have a perspective on this, but this is what keeps me up at night. Because I talk about it with Spencer all the time, because when I was involved in local government more, and I still do what I do here, but my thing was always looking at what we were paying out. And it's eventually, when you're talking to people, I felt like I was taking some sort of drug and that
Yeah.
people weren't hearing me, because there is so much money, like you said, going to these few arms. Typically it's the police, sometimes it's like a mayor or like a town administrator and a few others, and they're the ones controlling everything in the town, and everyone else gets a little bit of the money if maybe they let them. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
It's
very
really,
true.
I just feel like it's very scary that more people don't look at those budget lines and think like, okay, but I would like to spend our tax dollars in a way that's not potentially evil, and like I think I would rather they uphold my values. So I do love your coverage of the city council meetings, because I love anything that gets people to maybe listen or look there more often, because I do have hope in local government. But I do wonder, like, your perspective on, like, I guess why, like, how do people not look at these numbers and think, oh my goodness,
Right. I mean,
why?
I'm remembering now that you said that like maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, one of our better, more progressive city councilors raised the totally outside the Overton window idea of municipal bonding to create emergency shelter capacity for people that need it right now. Like, basically that means, like, why don't we take out a loan to open up some places immediately to make the situation less dire? And that was like, oh, this crazy, Antifa thug, right? Suggesting that we take out a municipal loan to actually provide a social service. Like, that is unthinkable. That is like, there's no political will for that whatsoever. I mean, meanwhile, Worcester's a great example of the things that we will take out a loan for, because we took out a $160 million loan to build a freaking ballpark. And it's like, it's just very, 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 very depressing to consider why a city will borrow against its credit rating and why a city won't. Right. And it's just and then you watch the city council meetings and you understand why. Because, like, a lot of those people are not there because they want to fix things, right?
Right.
And that's sort of a reality that I've tried to paint a number of times, and most recently there was a really good example of that in my most recent piece. It was an unhoused woman named Sam Olney is doing sort of like it's called Halo Worcester, and it's an unhoused advocacy organization run by unhoused people. And she put a public petition on the city council agenda to open a sanctioned encampment location with basic amenities and the trust and understanding that the cops are not going to come and demolish it. And it's like that's all they wanted. And of like 30 people who showed up to speak at the meeting, because every meeting opens up with people from the public speaking, like 12 spoke in favor of that one thing. Like the almost half of the public participation in that meeting, which had like 50 agenda items, was concentrated on that one agenda item, and people going, we need this right now. We need to do it. And then as soon as it got to the city council deliberating on it, one of the more conservative city councilors just immediately motioned to delete it. Basically, it's called filing it in Worcester politics, but they motioned to just delete it. And there was just a little bit of conversation, and they voted to just like say to the public, nope, sorry, deleted, gone. We just threw it right. They threw it right in the trash right in front of them.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a 6-5 vote. But like that 6 majority is not going anywhere anytime soon. And like so just like imagine being like Sam Only or any of these people that showed up to speak on that item, and you just watch right in front of your eyes the powers that be of this supposedly democratic institution just telling you to fuck off, like in the bluntest way possible. It's really I mean at a certain point I think you do have to acknowledge that like local government, the public facing aspect of local government kind of seems like it's a sponge for the public will as opposed to a conduit, you know. It's like it's there to discourage people from participating as opposed to allowing them to. That's the
sorry. I have
if I could say one thing just as a response.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, like I actually agree with you as someone who actually ran for office and lost by 1 vote for select board and used to be very involved in every meeting in my town. Yeah, 1 vote. I did not ask for a recount. I think they can count. I think they can count here in Montague, but I will say I don't go anymore because that eventually, unless it's a topic I really want to get my like voice on the record for, just so I want it on the record, and I used to do it every week. For probably about 3 years. I've been here 5 now. I can't anymore, Bill, because I'm screaming into a microphone. They will throw some, and me and like 10, 15 people will show up in a tiny town. And they will do what you just said, throw things out. And I'm not an unhoused person, so I feel so terrible for the people that you're discussing. But I do understand now, I guess now that you say it, how although I think that you can make some changes with local government, you're right. There's this part of it where it's almost like it discourages you in the end, because I felt like I was screaming at a brick wall. Pretty much.
Yeah. One of my common refrains in Worcester Sex Post is that Worcester is a city that punishes you for caring.
Oh,
like if you try
and I think
to
it's
care,
a lot of towns.
yeah. I don't think Worcester's unique in that, but I think you could say that about just about any town in Massachusetts or maybe anywhere. Yeah, it's I mean, like the optimism and the hope with local government is that it's not completely corrupted and far gone like state or federal politics. Like you actually have agency in it. That's the idea. Day to day, week to week, it becomes very hard to see that that's even true, you know. And that's heavy, because if it's not true in local government, it's not true anywhere.
Oh, it's so heavy.
So I have an anecdote that just proves to me that Worcester and Holyoke are so goddamn similar. And I assume rings true everywhere, because this is the weed out. every town is its own garden, and we all have weeds, right? They all pop
Yeah,
up different ways, and they all choke out different things. But so I went to a city council, and like I had a lot of things to say. I was mad about something, probably the police, and I don't remember the context, but I decided I heard enough people saying the same thing I was going to say, so I decided to take my opportunity to address how the city council demands everybody does the Pledge of Allegiance, which I think is unconstitutional, to be in that room, and then saying they have their own thing in their bylaw or their meeting bylaws that one counselor has to say, "God bless America, God bless Holyoke, and God bless the city council." They like do it as like musical chairs.
What?
So this is like an established thing by the 6-5 majority. Just like Worcester, this is the thing. They're Christo-fascist. Like, think about the biggest Irish parade in the country. It's like one of them is in Holyoke, and it's
no shit! That I drove by that the other day.
and it's
I was out. I drove. Yeah. Go ahead.
city that's half Puerto Rican. And granted, it used to be a lot of Irish, but like it's half Irish, half Puerto Rican, literally, and at least culturally it is. And it's just one of those things. It's like these motherfuckers invoking God. So I just said simply, I was like, listen, I went to Catholic school. I grew up Catholic. I'm confirmed. I literally was in Catholic school from 3 years old to 18. Like I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm basically, I don't know if I'm an atheist, but I'm not that. So like, I'm aware of my First Amendment rights and what the government should be doing. And I don't think you guys should be God blessing nobody, because I don't believe in your God. Like,
they blessed way too much that in the Holyoke meeting. I'm not gonna. You're not kidding. So it's funny. It's funny.
I kept it really short and not like, very, very unemotional. And then I get off, and Jourdain, the biggest bully, the one that was actually upset about the chairs at the beginning of this session, he was upset about the chair arrangement because he said into a microphone on the record, open meeting, some of us, it's a sign of respect on where we sit, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I finished. Literally, he chimes in while we're still in public comment. So he breaks decorum. He breaks rules, his own rules that he's a stickler about, to say, "God bless you."
It's so funny though.
That's fucked, motherfucker.
Wow.
So that's it's cold shit, man.
That is evil shit, yeah.
One time my dog barked
right. So
background, and he literally chimed in and goes, "Actually, I want to hear what the dog has to say instead of what I have to say."
Right. Yeah. So wait, so Holyoke has a big St. Patrick's Day parade.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I drove past it. That was a couple days ago, right?
On Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
They
and they have road race on Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. Okay, yeah. So me and my girlfriend did drive by that right after it was getting out, and there's just a bunch of like drunk white people like on the sidewalk and stuff. And that reminds me of a point that somebody brought up a couple of weeks ago that I was like, I made a mental note of like, oh, this would be a good story. Apparently, a lot of these like Italian American and Irish American pride parades, we'll call it the St. Patrick's Day parade, just coincidentally started happening around the time of desegregation of public schools. Like
Why is everything
busing.
so dark? Everything's so dark.
Right. So like and I'm not saying this is the case in Holyoke, and I'm not even saying this is the case in Worcester, but I'm saying that it's worth looking into whether there might be a funny coincidence of timing between busing and the start of these annual displays of Irish American pride. Yeah, right. White pride, basically. Yeah. Let's not mince words about it. Yeah.
The newly minted white, because Irish people weren't always considered white, but Holyoke doesn't necessarily apply because this is one of the oldest ones. I think if not the oldest, it's one of the oldest in the country.
Okay.
It's curious. When did it blow up? Did it blow up around desegregation?
Right. Yeah.
Because
like, before that.
Yeah, I did it. We did every year. It was a thing that we did because it's mostly Irish people living here. But then did desegregation happen, and they were like, and then a bunch of towns around them joined it. Because like at the Holyoke one, it's all the surrounding communities, like fire trucks, police vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, the East Hampton police had their big diesel truck and their boat in the parade.
Ew.
They brought their boat out.
Yeah, that was
Oh.
their float.
Boat,
They took
roads
it,
are on land, brother.
dude. They took it
You don't need a boat.
seriously. They took it literally. They want a float.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Where did
That's
that go?
crazy. Yeah.
Anyways, so tell everybody where they can find your insights, and tell us more about what is it just you? Do you work with other people? Do you work in a collective? And plug your social media, please.
Sure. So the newsletter, you can find it at worcestersucks.email. All of the writing is free, and I just ask nicely that you subscribe, and enough people are doing that right now. That's my full-time job. I'm the only full-timer, but I have a couple contributors. I have a comedian, Sean Connolly, who writes an advice column called Bad Advice. And I have Ashlyn Doyle, who I just brought on to do some more nuanced coverage of the schools. So I'm trying to build that out, but right now it's a pretty shoestring operation. One of the favorite things that we do, me and Woot Nanny Comedy, we have a Twitch stream called Worcester Council Theater 3000, where we watch the city council meetings and make fun of them in real time.
Awesome.
And this is one of no friends whatsoever in Worcester City Hall, but it's got a nice little community to it, a nice little audience, and it's basically like a watch party every week where you watch city council, and now we just had a school committee. And then on top of that, I'm working with some people to launch a nonprofit called the Worcester Community Media Foundation to try to build out more of an institution around the alternative local journalism that we're doing right now, so we don't have to rely on a venture capital backed Silicon Valley app for our survival. So that is headquartered out of a little video store in Worcester called Rewind Video. So we have a Patreon for that, Rewind Video, patreon.com/Rewind Video. And yeah, when you put it all like that, I am busy. I'm busy person. A lot of fun stuff to do, a lot of cool stuff. But if you just subscribe to worcestersucks.email, you will stay abreast of all of it.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing what you guys have coming out in the future. It's a different model than what we're doing over here, but we have camaraderie in the building up of something. So I have definitely have an appreciation for what you've accomplished in 4 years, and so kudos
Thank you
to all for getting it off the ground and having such passion, and having at least based on this interview, your values are and going in the right direction. And that's so anybody listening to this, please check out Bill's work at Worcester Sucks, and I love it. And it may be, even if you don't live in Worcester, it might be pertinent to see what might you can extrapolate on your own local politics, right, Joanna?
Absolutely. Please follow Bill. I would urge the audience to do so also on Twitter. I love that, I'm going please, if you're on Twitch, I'm guessing that's subscribers. I love that idea, Bill,
Yeah.
and I've actually run this idea past Spence. So if we copy you in the future, I'm sorry, but we'll be covering.
Please rip it off. Please. It's a lot of fun, and it's
yeah,
not
because
that
I
hard
like
either.
that. Okay. I may have some
Yeah.
I may have some questions, but I really
Sure.
love that. So I encourage the audience, if you think council meetings are boring, Worcester's a bigger town than we have out here, really, besides Springfield. So I would encourage people to watch your Twitch and kind of have some fun with it. Sometimes for me, if I'm watching these really heavy and depressing things, being able to make fun of it and have people that are doing it for me and explaining the hard stuff is really helpful. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back on. I think we have a lot we could talk about in the future. And again,
Yeah, for
the audience, please follow Bill, do what our audience says, and give support and share, do all the things.
If Bill, would you like to stick around for Guler and Tomfoolery?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Great. So Ghoulery and Tomfoolery, for those that are uninitiated, is where I bring up an article. Usually nobody knows what it is ahead of time. Sometimes Joanna does, just because I like to, if I can't pick Joanna. But the goal is you guys are going into this cold. You don't know what I'm about to bring up.
Perfect.
I'm the coin toss, but I didn't pick this one.
No. This one was pretty decisive for me. So we picked something from we try to focus something, within specifically Massachusetts or more local, but sometimes there's something that happened across the country that is relevant to something we did on Ghoulery and Tomfoolery in the past. So we'll bring that up. But anyways, so we bring it up and everybody gets to give their
I'm getting
from
feedback.
the Ghoulery and Tomfoolery. Oh no, feedback.
Does anyone else hear it?
I don't hear anything.
Okay,
no.
I'm not anymore. I just wanted to make it just in case. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, get your take on the Ghoulery and Tomfoolery, and tell us if you think it's more Ghoulery or if it's more Tomfoolery or if it's a mix. So canine Odin, that's referring to a dog. So they don't refer to dogs as anything. Their unit number, like their name is like a unit number, like their inventory. It's pretty gross. So I fucking hate dogs. I think they're dehumanizing as fuck and just gross. Making an animal do your dirty work. Anyways, canine Odin of the Enfield Police. Odin too. It's very like white supremacy feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, but we'll get more into that after we get through this.
Yeah. Helped apprehend a suspect involving in a domestic disturbance. What's that? I don't know. According to Enfield Police Department's canine unit, canine was requested to help the evening shift with trafficking a suspect who wanted domestic disturbance on Saturday. Basically, it's a blurb, but like it's quite literally just a cop called up the PR guy just wrote like, hey, we used our dog today and he helped capture a suspect. We used him for the violence instead of a human. So that's my
yeah.
That's my Ghoulery and Tomfoolery. It's just like WWLP has a budget, I don't, and this is a waste of time.
Yeah, right.
Like, and it's so clearly like the everyday mundane propaganda that's in our ecosystem. So as the Weed Out, we always like to highlight how they do it locally. It's like you see the stuff on TikTok where they like, do the Sinclair, all the Sinclair syndicates all edited together with the same script. This happens in every, like all these corporate hedge fund bought newspapers. So I thought it was relevant bringing this up because this is just really simple, like propaganda and how it work like yourself and the Weed Out and the Shoestring and Andrew Kumir and all the independent journalists in Massachusetts are far more important because we're not wasting our time on shit like this to like normalize the use of animals as weapons. So that's my group.
Right.
It's a lot of bread and circus. So I'm going tomfoolery. So Will, you're the guest.
Okay.
Go.
All right. So I have a multi-layered analysis of this. On the surface, tomfoolery, easy tomfoolery. This is like you said, the kind of propaganda that local cable news outlets love to do. They do it reflexively. Anything the cops put in a press release, an outlet like this, a reporter like this would just repeat. It's like literally Ron Burgundy in the teleprompter, go fuck yourself, San Diego. Like they would say anything that was in the press release. On a deeper level, ghoulery to name your police German Shepherd Odin. I mean, what? That's like, just name him Hitler, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You named your police canine after like the central tenet of the Nazi religion? Like, are you serious? And you were allowed to do that? Who is this police department run by? Varg? Right? Like, Jesus Christ. That is ghoulery. Yeah. That is like, okay, is there a KKK branch in Enfield, Connecticut? Like, that's not an accident. So tomfoolery on the face of it. When you look at the dog's name, ghoulery. Such ghoulery.
And dogs are cute. Even the scary ones. So like that's pretty sinister. Like soften,
right?
Like soften. Oh, he's just Odin.
Yeah.
Oh, Odin, little puppy. Look at that guy. And they show the dog in his vest all. I love when they like
right.
arms on dogs. Like, what a fucking like. Think about how white women fall for dogs in Halloween costumes. Dress them up like
Right.
soldier. Oh, look at that dog! They don't like realize that thing is
Yeah.
dangerous as fuck. That is a gun on claws.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? Odin? Oh, I didn't know the German Shepherd was Aryan in an ancient fashion. Yeah.
You call him Odie, like
Just name
roommate?
right. Just name the next one Swastika. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Okay, Joanna, take us home. What's the ghoulery tomfoolery? What's your take?
So I feel like it's also ghoulery only because I don't think the police and that great. I mean, thank you, Bill and Spencer. Great takes, hilarious and so disturbing on all counts. I think though it's disturbing to me that dogs, horses, any animals are utilized by the police at this point, and that again we're okay with it as taxpayers. Based on data points, so like 80% of the time, dogs don't get it right. I just don't know why this is still happening, that dogs are being utilized at all. So that's why I think it's foolery and horses or anything like that. But yeah, thank you both for your takes.
I have a dog. I've been bit by dogs.
Well, yeah, and I'm not the white woman that would paint like pet any dog.
I know this guy, even my little guy. Well, he's not little, but my guy is possibly dangerous.
Yeah, but I would never approach JJ even a mini dog. If I don't know you, like, oh hell no.
I could train them. We can be a good team. So like I can imagine a cop being able to train a dog up to do what he wants him to do, when he wants him to do it. But also there's always the element of it's autonomous being and you act like you have total control over it.
I don't want to pay for that. We pay for enough with the cops. No,
how often do cops get bit by their own dogs because they don't know what the fuck?
Yeah, that's the thing. Then they're gonna workman's comp that shit, and then they're gonna take like a really long time off, and then they're gonna retire at like 45 with full time.
Right. Do you think they put the dogs on administrative leave?
Probably.
Yeah, like they get to go to the park.
No, they just kill them. They just put them down. That's
maybe they might.
Respect life. Think about how many dogs they kill a year.
And sometimes the training that they do to them is actually abuse, so like they can't be like rehabilitated to like live with you.
Yeah. Right. It's like that movie White Dog. I don't know, from a long time ago. It's like the dogs that like clan members and stuff used to train that would just like attack black people. It's when you think about those dogs and police dogs being pretty similar, and then you see a police dog named Odin, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It just doesn't sit right that they're able to. I just don't know, and that's terrible. But it doesn't sit right with me that we are still funding like animal attacks on our citizens. And like when most people would rather, like, this is sick too, but like most people would be more upset if like the dog was abused than like if a person were homeless. And I understand like both should not happen, but I also think like they're being abused when they're in the hands of a cop. So I'm just always surprised that it's still an ongoing thing, if at all. But yeah, Odin is unbelievable.
And that's also like a really sort of dark reality undergirding the fact that police dogs are mostly just like propaganda points for police departments anyway. Like they're like social media posts, like, oh, look at our police dog, look at our police dog, Pol Pot, and look how happy he is, yeah.
It's like, and oftentimes they get comfort dogs now, so like one of the dogs on the force will be like, this one's for when we're not going to beat you with a taser.
And it's like a Shih Tzu,
Yeah.
Notoriously aggressive little dog.
I just worry about it. I'm like, I don't want to know it.
Sorry, Bill.
Oh, geez. I didn't know that about the comfort dogs. I'll have to.
Yeah,
I didn't know that about the comfort dogs. That's
more and more stations out this way anyway.
That is jumping the shark a little bit.
SROs. Look into SROs. It's the school resource officers, and the cross.
They have dogs out there.
Yeah,
SROs have dogs.
Yeah,
and some communities.
Jesus.
It's not like
Jesus.
I don't know if it's unilateral, but there are communities in Massachusetts where they have SRO dogs, and they're like doodles.
Oh my God.
And Pittsfield has a Labradoodle comfort dog, just like on the force.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Dude, dark.
Okay, it's a grip, man.
Yeah.
Some breeder is getting paid.
Oh,
Some training company that's an ex-cop is getting a good contract. It's just a fucking.
oh yeah.
Anyways,
Messed up.
so
Yeah.
Ghoulery and Tomfoolery, everybody. Reminder: we'll link all the original article in the show notes. You can always go to our show notes at www.theweedout.com. Find us on all podcast players except for Spotify, I believe, and we're on all social media. Please follow Bill. Check out his live Twitch stream. That sounds hilarious. There's always when I'm watching City Council at my house, I have lots of fun things to say. So I can only imagine. I have actually seen like bits and pieces, like when you've posted them after the fact, like when you've posted clips. So I can't say I've ever watched it live with y'all, but I've definitely seen clips, and it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're in the Worcester area. But otherwise, Bill, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Yeah.
And that's all I
For
have.
sure. Yeah. So this was a lot of fun. I anytime I'll come back on. I appreciate the work you guys are doing out in Western Mass. Definitely start your own Worcester Council Theater 3000. That'd be great.
Okay, well,
We'll get a movement going.
We'll get
Hell
We'll
yeah.
get a movement going.
we'll talk offline. We'll talk offline about how to strategize. And
Sure.
thank you, Joanna, for being the great co-host that you always are. And
You're so welcome. Thank you guys.
I can't wait to do it next time. We have a couple great shows coming up after this one. And hopefully you liked the shows we've had previously, and you can always go back and listen. There's always relevant stuff. There's stuff that's going on, and that can be gleaned on the things we've talked about in the past. So always feel free to reach out to us if you have any tips or ideas. theweedout@gmail.com, www.theweedout.com. And thanks everybody for listening. Take care.